Hi there, and welcome back to History of Fleetwood Mac. I'm Anita. Today we're going to get into part 2 of some magazines that I have. I'm going to start off with a really cool one that I got actually pretty recently, starting in 1980. I showed some ones from the 70s that I had in the first video, but I didn't show my Rolling Stone issues, which several were from the 70s. I think I'm going to make that a separate video, but I don't know if you saw a short video that I made of all my magazines, but they're in kind of smaller containers. And my large ones are elsewhere, which I'm not exactly sure right now. So I will include those and probably just make a video about Fleetwood Mac being prominently featured in Rolling Stone magazine. But this first one was a really unique magazine, and the name of it is called Impact, and it was a magazine out of Hawaii. This came out in 1980 after Fleetwood Mac had gone on tour or made a stop in Hawaii. I just literally happened upon it on eBay and just felt really, really lucky to get it. Never seen it before. Mac in Hawaii. It had some really great photos in here. So normally I'm not going to open every magazine and show you, but there are certain times when some really deserve being shown, and this is absolutely one of those times. So it starts with a really medieval, weird-looking photo of Mick. Typical, but funny. But still, Mick in action, if you will. And all these photos are by Mary Ann Chang. Really great ones of Stevie. Kind of hard to make that one out. Take your time. Trying to get you the best light for it. Don't know why that was there at the end. Looks like her head's here, Mick's over here, her arms are out, and she's in mid-twirl. Looks like she's mid-twirl and she's looking at Mick like this, is what it looks like to me. Her hands are right here. Really hard to see. Still kind of a cool photo, though. In the last edition of Impact, Mary Ann Chang was the photographer that shot all of the Jacksons' photos. So I guess they just wanted to add that in there for a correction. So, yeah. So really neat. It's a fashion magazine. Never even heard of it either. It just has a lot of, fashion in it. And there's also an article on Bruce Lee, and just a really cool magazine. I'm really fortunate to have found that recently on eBay. Some really great photos of Stevie live. So that one was kind of unique and new to my collection, newish. So starting off with that one. Then another one that I've seen before, but had never actually had until, ironically, somewhat recently, was this issue of Keyboard Magazine with Christine McVie on the cover. I don't think there's much in this one either that's unseen. Just one of those ones I just was never able to pick up. Just kept missing. Pretty standard fare in here. But still really, really happy to have it. Great article. Just, and her on the cover, which is really nice bonus. This was one that I got some time ago. This was a weird little magazine. A lot of people, this is kind of a definite highlight item in a magazine collection. This was a magazine called Hot Wax. And I believe it was just this one has some weird content, some adult content, if you will. But it seems to me to be almost like a bootleg kind of discography magazine. And this one in particular just had, for whatever reason, some really great photos of Stevie. I guess she'd been in concert recently. And somebody just, Jim Wielander, who I believe contributed a lot of these photos, are in the Ed Winstonson books that I've discussed in the past. This was also in that Women in Rock book I had shown in, I think, my last video. I think that would be the last book video before the magazines, possibly not, but. And I think that was it. And then it goes on to give some bootleg information about Debbie Harry. There's a lot of boobs in this. Plasmatics, well, but with Wendy O. Williams, you can't, just some really weird stuff in here. And then it does go on to talk about, which I thought was kind of cool. It brings up, ironically, the Almanac bootleg, which I've mentioned in a couple of videos. So there's the Fleetwood Mac Almanac, and then there is the Fleetwood Mac Ivory, Live Ivory. It's a shame it's not discussed a little bit or talked about. It's just mentioned in here. And like I said, it's funny to me because it just really seems to me like new bootleg record releases. We do not sell the following records, nor can we tell you where you may buy them. Our rating system is based on sound quality of bootleg, not legitimate albums. All albums listed have paper sleeve inserts unless otherwise noted. Most bootlegs are pressed in the USA, even though many bootleggers list countries such as Australia and Japan on their covers. Those bootlegs actually pressed outside of the USA are identified as such in these pages. So, and that's just, it goes on to several pages of Jackson Browne, the Beatles, all sorts of peoples, but Fleetwood Mac is listed in here. So this would have you think that Almanac came out in 81 thereabouts, because this magazine is summer of 1981. So that's the first indication of a possible release date of when that Almanac album came out. I thought it was a little bit earlier, like 79, and I think, if memory serves me correct, when I showed the video, I might have shown it around the Tusk or Live era. So maybe I did recall that correctly, and that's when it came out. So, but anyway, this is a really cool magazine to have. That's just a neat little piece of information inside, but of course, it's really about the photos in this magazine. So, issue that needs no introduction: the September 1981 issue of Rolling Stone with Stevie Nicks on the cover. Probably most everybody's seen the photos in this, so I'm just going to leave it as it is, because this is a widely able magazine to get. I have so many, and I want the videos to be, concise, that I'm just going to try not to open every one, because a lot of these are widely available. The ones that I feel are maybe a little bit rare or harder to come by, I'll definitely open up, or if there's something really unique and awesome inside. So this issue of Circus magazine is December 1981. This is also a newly acquired item. I had never had a copy of it. we've talked about the in my records back when I was making the video about the 45s, and there's a 45 picture sleeve, which I think is leather and lace, possibly Japan. That had this cover. I mentioned how it's on a Smash Hits cover, and I've since got the magazine in like the last month or so, and it's seen some things. It's got a little wear and tear on it, as you can see, and it's pretty bad on the back. But I'm happy just to have a copy at all. So really really happy to have this. And again, nothing inside. This is kind of a rarer thing to find, but really minimal stuff on the inside. Let me show you here. Yeah. Then it's got some lyrics to a couple songs from, I think it's Leather and Lace and Edge of 17. So that's pretty cool. This one is a moderately difficult one to get in touch with. Actually, I found one. There's an issue from this is 1982. I believe there's an issue from 79 or 80 that has Fleetwood Mac on the cover that I don't have. And I keep forgetting I don't have that one. And I'm actually trying to track that one down. This is a magazine that seemed really prominent in the 80s, but just doesn't come around too much more in like on eBay and such. It strikes me as something people either really kept hold of or just didn't get much circulation. So funny enough, this is the inside photo. Funny, right? Forgot all about that as being the inside. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this might be the same. This almost looks like the same layout or the same. I don't know. Why does this remind me of the High Times magazine layout inside, doesn't it? Early Photoshop where they put painted roses in there. Kind of funny. Maybe I'm completely off. It just reminds me of the High Times, something about that. And this one's a little bit off from what I could recall from the other pictures. I don't even remember what year did the High Times one come out. I'm not even sure if I have that in my collection here. Wasn't that like 84 or something? I think I have it in the folder, but I don't think I have it as a magazine. And in fact, you know what? I might have torn it up because isn't she just... No, she's partially on the cover. Normally I would have kept that one. Hard to say. Anyway, so that is that. I'm going to go a little bit forward. I didn't know this video would be kind of shorter, so dig out just a few more here. Oh, one really neat thing I had. I don't know what this was kind of cool. This I got from a friend. I want to say that I borrowed this from a friend, and I think I was actually supposed to return it. I still have that friend. I should probably ask her. But it's been so many years. I've just taken really good care of it. Probably not. She's not a big collector, but I don't know. She might have been there, which is maybe. But of course, when I saw it, what I really dug the most, of course, was this. Even though this is from the US Festival when Fleetwood Mac were there, this is just fan-freaking-tastic. This is so cool. Stevie Nicks at the beginning with the whole "I Want My MTV" promotional campaign. It just is just worth its weight in gold right here for that picture. But this came out for the US Festival September 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 1982. And Fleetwood Mac would have been, let's see where we have them here. I don't know if there's much else in here about them. I just don't consider this a program. Like I said, I was wondering if maybe I should have shown it with programs. I mean, it kind of is. It looks to me like a magazine, but it says Us Festival and $3. So I'm not really sure, but that's the portion on Fleetwood Mac in there. And I'd love to know if there's one of these for when Stevie did it by herself. And the schedule, there's so many great bands there. So much fun. Sure, a lot of you out there probably got to be there. Feel free to tell me all about it. Let me know how amazing it was. Yeah, so that's all that's in that one. But like I said, that one page of Stevie in here is just really pretty special. And I think I had borrowed it meaning to copy it, but that didn't happen. I put my head down in shame for having taken it from my friend. Moving on just a little bit on the Us Festival front, there's this rock magazine, and this one had come out. Again, it's really tiny. I'll show it later because I have a copy of it in my scrapbooks, but she was on the cover. So that was kind of cool. I didn't realize that ever. I had not known that she was on the cover. Because all I've ever had of that magazine, in fact, all I ever knew about this magazine was this issue. And I remember this like it was yesterday, getting this. This was one of my first magazines, a full magazine with the full article on her. And, I mean, every time my mom took me to a store or somewhere like that, it's straight to the magazines. If it wasn't a record store or they didn't have a record section, I was in the magazines looking through every single magazine for anything about Stevie or Fleetwood Mac. And I remember this one just glowing because it was right in front, and just staring at it. And I think I was able to get it at the time, which is rare. It's $2, so it's hard to say. But I remember, I think I was able to get it that day instead of like having to come back for it later or something like that. And funny enough, it's not a magazine I saw at anywhere else. It was a weird little grocery store we didn't go to that often. And this is just like I said, it's not a magazine I remember being prevalent. I actually have seen a couple issues since then, but not, there's like Cream and Circus and Rolling Stone and Hit Parader and all those. This is not one that I remember coming out, all the time with something different. So, yeah, this one was really cool. So that was a cool issue. Moving on a bit more, we have kind of getting into, after that one, I think this one would be next, order-wise. This was a really cool magazine. I found this one and another issue from Tango in the Night era. Gavin Report, which is just some music, like radio station director kind of magazine. I thought it was really neat to have not one, but 2 issues, 2 items, with Fleetwood Mac related on them. Lots of chart information, charting, different cities, different stations. The article on Lindsay. I'm going to imagine this is kind of pretty rare because it looks like something that's just given to people, who worked in this industry. And I think that's pretty much it. It is so full of 80s stuff, though. It's a pleasure to behold. Just like 80s Central in here. Yeah, new releases, chart bound. Again, just lots of radio stuff. Really neat. So yeah, this one and the Tango on the Night one. Oh, there's a little bit more of the article. This one and the Tango on the Night one I got about a year ago, maybe. Yeah, never seen anything like it since. So that's kind of a cool issue. This was a freebie magazine that came out. This one is kind of hit and miss. This was a free magazine that came out with Musicland, yeah. So Pulse was for Tower Records and Rock Express was for Musicland, which was a store in the mall generally. a music store, and I remember finding this and grabbing a, like an issue, because that's when I was like, well behaved, instead of like, my weight's worth when something was free. Yeah, and then I lost it. I had no idea what happened to it, and I had to buy this issue years later. This one I've had for quite a while again, but it's not the one I've had. I'm pretty sure that this is the one I've had from the get-go. Um, but yeah, this one I just remember losing, or I think I might have cut it up, which is more likely the case. It had kind of a not really unique or anything like that pictures, but at the time for me, kind of unique. First of all, I love the cover shot of Lindsay. And again, you want to talk about 80s in here. Yes, I mean, duh, it was the 80s, but I'm just saying it just kills me how when you go back and look through it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I cut this up. I do remember that I really liked this picture of Stevie. And that one of Chris. So I think that's what happened to it. I think that's probably why I had to get a new one, is because I probably cut this one up. In my infinite wisdom. That's actually, so that's probably not the case. I think that's the same for this one. This one I kept together for so long, but I'm 99% sure that I am more sure actually when I'm thinking about it, because I remember it kept getting more and more damaged, so I had to keep trimming it. So what started out as like what is this, 8x10? The pictures inside of the cover just kept getting smaller and smaller. It fell apart and stuff like that. So no, this is replacement. But what's in my scrapbook or the binder, I don't know which one, but if you see pictures from this, or you have seen them in the binder, or you'll see at some point when I finally get into the scrapbooks, definitely anyone that you see from that magazine would have been from the original. So, and then I'll definitely we'll stop after these two here, doing okay on time. This one was really a cool one. Love this color. I loved how they did all the different colors. Again, this one might be. This one I can maybe say I didn't cut up, despite I was a little bit smarter. I think I'd seen them in concert already. September 87, it's hard to say. Maybe not. But I think I was coming to realize that just stop that. Don't do that anymore. And we were on vacation, and also the price of magazines. I mean, of course, $2.50, of course, is by today's standards. That's like $20 a freaking magazine anymore. Jesus, I went and bought the latest Fleetwood Mac Mojo, or actually my dear sweet mom did as an early birthday present. It's $20. I mean, even when you get the stupid discount at Barnes and Noble. And granted, this is a whole issue devoted to Fleetwood Mac, so it's like a book almost. You know what I mean? But $20, but a regular magazine. Let's see here. This Guitar World from 2017 was $8. And that's 2017. So about the going rate of a magazine is anywhere, and of course most of them seem to me to be imports. But even like, the National Enquirer, which used to be like, what, 99 cents? It's so expensive. But anyway, my point is that I just realized that probably I shouldn't be cutting up magazines anymore. And I really like the aesthetic of this. I like the different colors, and Cream was kind of a weird magazine. They were kind of hit and miss. It's almost like they were positively rude, like they liked the band, but they had to make a dig at them in some way or another in every issue. It didn't matter what band, who it was. It just seemed, almost always seemed like that to me. It was kind of funny. But on vacation with the folks, and when you're young, it's nice to go on vacation. We'd always go camping and stuff like that. But mom and dad would take books, and I had my Walkman and music and stuff like that. A Walkman, yeah, I totally dated myself. It's true. It's all my big cassette thing with all my cassettes, and having a magazine, one to read of my own that was my interest, my topic was really kind of cool. So, funny stuff like that. And then last, much like that one on Lindsey Buckingham, here is another one. Is that the same title? Yeah, Gavin Report. And this one has a little tear in the back, unfortunately. Let's see. Top 40 most added. Fleetwood Mac 159. I don't know if that means. Well, this is funny. Somebody had written in the magazine, Dan Hill duet with Wanda Shepherd, piece of dog doo-doo. Yikes. Okay. Don't let me know how you feel. Thank goodness that person didn't write that next to Fleetwood Mac. Right? Would have had to write back. Let's find the article in here. It's funny, it doesn't have like first of all, there's this little segment which is really cool on Billy and Rick. Has no, what am I trying to say? Index. Is that the word I'm looking for? Inside here. It goes from dog doo-doo page. Then it goes right into like charts, advertisements. Yeah, just kind of funny. Where are we here? Oh, this is nice. Great picture, Chris. Yeah, so it looks like it ends there. So they might be, commented on, a couple of other pages and such like that, but no photos, no advertisements that I could recall being in here. But yeah, I was pretty stoked to get that. Again, just two really different magazines. I think it's really cool that one's with Lindsay and one's an article with Christine. Like I said, that's in the back page. It's torn up, but a little part about Fleetwood Mac. Oh, so that's what it is. Table of contents. It's in the back. Okay, then. That's weird. Because this is the front of the magazine. If you open it, right to left, is that right? Anyway, there you have it. Cool magazines, two things I'd never seen before. So I don't know if the articles are, I'm pretty sure the articles are significant only to the magazines. Some places will take an article and release it in a couple different magazines. But again, I think the uniqueness of them is not just having the magazines with them on the cover, but that the articles are unique to the magazines. So just kind of cool stuff. So that takes us through Tango in the Night. Coming up next, we have kind of goes all over the place. Other Side of the Mirror, but I have some cool stuff from there, and Behind the Mask. Yeah, so I'll make that another video. So thanks again for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any of this or what other magazines you might have from this era. Let me know. I'm curious too if anybody has magazines that they have absolutely positively kept from the time they bought them in the 80s or 70s up till now. And if you think that it's just me and magazine prices are freaking ridiculous nowadays, because I thought $2 at the time was kind of a bit much, but yeah. Anyway, thanks again so much for joining me. Have a great night. We'll see you next time. Bye.